All right, hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I'm your host, John Harris. On my right-hand side is my right-hand man, Gabriel.
The Ontogeny is about the...
Ontogeny. So today on Rock Metal Podcast, we have Before and Apace. And all the years I've known Devin, he wouldn't do something like that. He has a new album called the Denisovan? Denisovan?
The Denisovan, sir.
All right, the Denisovan, which is released on, I have May 11th. Is that correct?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Right now I'm being joined by Devin himself. He's going to share some more information about this release and what he's got going on. So, Devin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm tickled frickin' pink to be here. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate that. Cool. Now, something that Gabriel had mentioned, and I said, in all the years I've known you, Devin, you've never been a simple man. So, you mind taking us through these multisyllabic words that you have created and invented in your own language here for the song titles?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, they're all existing words. We didn't make anything up. The album title is called The Denisovan. We have 4 songs on it. And despite that, we're still calling it a full-length album because it's 52 plus minutes of music in just those 4 songs. The first one is called Zeno, spelled Z-E-N-O. The second one is called Limbics. The third is called Ontogeny. And the fourth is called Simultanagnosia. And yeah, they all have a little bit of meaning, I suppose, thematically. We didn't just open a thesaurus and throw a dart, as the titles may suggest we did.
Well, that's good. I know death metal bands that do that. They go and they get medical dictionaries and they just pick something out of it and then...
and then throw, cow carcass after it or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then just put a drum machine behind it. I mean, a real drummer. There's no drum machines at all in death metal.
No, the whole genre is devoid of them all.
Exactly.
Well, like
they're purists.
Yeah, Cryptopsy is definitely a real drummer thing.
I've met some very talented death metal drummers. However, on recording, in order to get it to sound the way it does, there's a lot of stuff going on. Unless they're really, really, really that good. And I tell you, there aren't many Kevin Tallies in the world. Okay. It's a disorder of visual attention that leaves a patient's world unglued. That sounds deep. Leaving a patient's world unglued. Scenes and objects are perceived in a piecemeal manner. Now, if I go back to the artwork, am I seeing that a little bit?
Is what you just read, is that the definition of simultanagnosia by chance?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I haven't seen that exact definition. If you look at the artwork, yes, I think you'll see it. I can't comment on how overtly it was put in there. I didn't create the artwork. A lovely, amazing artist from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan here did it, named Varia Vinogradova. She's amazing, and we talked to her about some of the themes after we had made the music. We had given her a copy of it, and she kind of took it and went with it. And she, to our knowledge, incorporated a whole bunch of themes. Simultanagnosia itself, excuse me, is a notion. It's a psychological disorder that anyone who has it can perceive elements of something, but they can't recognize the entire thing of it. So someone might be able to see like a fork and a flower vase and then a water bottle, but they wouldn't be able to put it all together and see that it's a set table ready for dinner. That's the disorder. And it was that kind of summed up what I wanted to write about in that particular tune. So a sense of being fractured and disparate, and I think Varia did a tremendous job of putting that into the artwork, and somehow she managed to kind of tie in themes of all 4 of the songs in this one magnificent piece. So yeah, for anyone that has never seen our album cover, I suggest going and checking it out, and also suggest checking out Varia's artwork. I can never pronounce the website, but I think you can get to it from our Facebook page if anyone cares to. And yeah, I suggest checking her work out. She's amazing. A diamond in the rough.
Okay. That's Saskatoon in general, baby. You guys are the berries of the best pie in the world.
We'd like to think so.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I'm referencing the Saskatoon berry, which is a very Canadian thing, Canadiana.
Canadiana.
Ooh, we harmonied. We had harmonies there. If only Devin had chimed in, we would have had a 3-part harmony. Just like Pinky Malinky.
Yeah, we should talk about Pinky Malinky.
We should talk about Pinky Malinky because you're a dad, so you probably know Pinky Malinky, don't you?
You know, I'm new to Pinky Malinky. Gabriel, what can you tell me about Pinky Malinky?
Talk to about Pinky Malinky, son.
So he's like a little sausage dude. He's like a little wiener.
Okay. I like it already.
He's a hot dog that came alive, and everybody on the show knows he's a hot dog, but they're okay with it. And it's sort of a social commentary on teenagers today, how everything has to be filmed and put onto social media and get likes. And for kids who are watching the show, it's probably just melds with their mind, and they think, oh, this is a show that gets it. Whereas as a parent, I look at it and I see some level of cynical social commentary.
I like it. Yeah, I'll have to keep my eye out for that one. What's the preferred age or recommended age group for that? I've got a 4 and a 6-year-old.
They might like it. I don't know if you would like it, but they might like it. Because I don't know. Gabriel's is always. He found it somehow. It's a Nickelodeon thing, but it's on Netflix. And the other show that he watches a lot that I don't know if it's actually right for his age because he's 6 years old, but he digs it. Is Teen Titans Go?
Okay.
Which
I guess I don't watch too much. I'm not too familiar with any of this stuff, but
it's okay. If I had 6 distressors and 3 Neve consoles and 1 focused right compressor, I would probably not watch TV either.
Sharp eye, my friend. Very astute. And yeah, I don't have any distressors, so that was a swing and a miss, I'm afraid. I don't know what you're seeing. That looks like a distressor, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong on everything I just said, but it sounded good in the moment.
No, the Focusrite, the Neve. What else did you say in there?
I thought I saw distressor. The knob's above the Focusrite.
This one or the top one?
They all look about the same. Is it just an EQ?
Yeah, there's a Soundtech EQ, and then above that is an Allen Smart compressor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Intelligent compression.
Yeah, smarter than I am, that's for sure.
Bing, bang, boom. Is this the studio where all the magic happened for the record?
Yes and no. It is. I recorded it all in this here basement, but this here basement did not look like it currently does back when we made it. This album is actually super old. Despite having been released on May 11th of this year, like literally a handful of weeks ago, we finished the recording in 2012, mixed it over the next year. There was some kind of interpersonal stuff that called into question how we were to proceed with it within the band, and just kind of sat and languished for a little while, and it was kind of called into question whether it even come out at all. But where was I going with this? Oh, right, to answer the question, the basement, I finished renovating it 6 years ago, so it looks nice now, and back then it was kind of a half thrown together semi basement suite from the previous owners, and so we recorded kind of strewn about existing bedrooms and hallways and a half torn apart kitchen and living room. So it was made here, but under different circumstances, different environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm guessing you then commissioned the rest of the work to a studio in Saskatoon?
The mix, my good friend Christian Douglas is an amazing musician and engineer. He's now operating out of Viscount, Saskatchewan. He's got a cool recording studio. It's called the Sound Castle. But before he had that place, he was at Sun Temple Studios, and that's where we mixed it. I went out there for all the sessions. He did most of the heavy lifting, but I was present for each session and chiming in and helping kind of see the vision, I guess, see it through. And then for mastering, flew to Great Toronto, Ontario, and for a day and a half, I think it was, at Carvalho Mastering. So I was there for that too, although I did even less knob twiddling and talking because getting further and further out of my element at that point.
Yeah, Joao.
Yeah.
Joao Carvalho, fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah.
What, out of all the people in Toronto that could do mastering, Why Joao?
So I had come across a mix magazine from probably, I don't know, 2004, 2005. And I think it was right around the time that that Joe Carvalho mastering was opening or just renovated. I can't remember. Something big to do about Joe Carvalho mastering, and just looked like a gorgeous room. I think it was designed by Martin Pilchner, who's an acoustician, world famous for his designs. And it was kind of one of my first like glimpses inside a pro mastering studio, although it was just in printed page and pictures. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of stuck in my mind this whole time. And when it came time to get it mastered, I was like, hey, let's hit him up. And found that Brett Zalehi is one of their resident mastering engineers who has done some other heavy stuff and some not so heavy stuff, which it was actually the not so heavy stuff that appealed to me most. I had a bunch of records in my collection from what he had done, but mostly the non-heavy stuff. And I thought he might have the right touch because we're kind of a blend of both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look at there. They got everything here from the Tragically Hip to Silverstein to Alexis on Fire. Yeah.
Hawksley Workman, Science-Spheric, Danko Jones, some really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's absolutely fantastic, especially in a day and age where just about anybody thinks they can master now. I'm kind of curious what's going to happen to these mastering houses within the next even 5 years, never mind 10 years, because a lot of things are coming across my desk where the mix engineer just did the mastering job, or they sent it off to another mix engineer to do a mastering job. And it's like, how come nobody's sending it to a mastering engineer anymore? Well, because so-and-so can do mastering and they did it and it sounded good. Well, okay.
Yeah, and some of it does. There's some amazing things being done out of people's basements. Not. I pointed at mine, but I'm not trying to suggest that
you're humble
anything amazing ever came out of here per se. But that'll be up to other people to judge. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, it is an art form, and it is one that I've dabbled in and never really found my footing. And I'm happy to pass it off. And so I've been that mixing engineer who's mastered to varying levels of success. And although I had designs to learn the craft, one can only learn so many crafts in one's life. So I'm happy to kind of pass it off these days.
Mm-hmm. Boom. Okay. Now, you mentioned the space that you're in needed some remodeling. My wife and I are currently house hunting. We're racking our brains. I'm about ready to go toe on the trigger, Devin. It's a miraculously fun social experiment. Tell us about how you guys ended up in the space that you're in, and maybe tell a bit more about what went into making the space that you have there.
Wow, great question. I bought this place when I was 26 years old, and I was single at the time, and there was a couple friends that said that they would be roommates and help chip in on the expenses, and it's just got, I don't know, I've been here ever since, and I don't know if there's much more to the story than that. I guess when I was 26, like I'm 41 now, this is a long time ago, but when I was 26, I was house hunting with the idea in mind that the space had to accommodate music, and specifically a jam space and a recording studio. So this was, I went and saw a whole bunch of places and said that this one had the potential, and then took me how many years? I don't know how many years, but it took me a number of years to actually get started on the renovation. Had to do a lot of thinking and planning and learning about the process of building one's own studio. So, I guess that's the story about how I ended up here.
Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on was you mentioned that basically the whole recording started in 2012, which at this point is almost 10 years ago. So
it actually, sorry to interrupt, it actually finished in 2012.
Whoa.
The recording started, I think it was just a year before that, 2011, and the songwriting was itself in an era. It took forever to put this thing together. The band has existed in my brain since I was a teenager, basically. And then early 2000s is when I started putting the lineup together. Sorry, I cut you off, though. You were about to ask an amazingly poignant question.
Mm-hmm. I know. But thankfully, I'm a very humble young man. and with perspicacity beyond my own realm. But anyway, I was curious how many people listening in, for example, right now or watching on YouTube have a band that's been living on your hard drive for the last 10 years?
How many bands are on my hard drive?
No,
and
just
nowhere else.
Just in general. I mean, how many bands listening in? There's a guitar player listening in right now, or a singer listening in right now, or a drummer listening in right now, or watching on YouTube, going, "Man, I've got an album on my hard drive."
I see what you're saying.
So at what point did you, I don't know, decide to release it and give birth to it rather than, I don't know, let it continue to rot on a hard drive? I guess is my question. It's kind of an interesting question, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, all of my questions are interesting.
Amazingly so.
Thank you.
You know what? One thing I've learned about myself is I'm not very good with time in many ways, or at least I think about it differently. And it kind of started to bother me that things weren't progressing to being able to release it. But it didn't bother me so much that I really kicked myself into high gear, feeling that urgency. I was like, it'll get done. And I never really felt that it wouldn't get done. Like I said, there was some stuff within the kind of the membership of the band that called into question how it would proceed. But where am I going with this? It was, I guess, it slowed down the process a bit in terms of how it would get released, what it'll look like, what format, and those things just took time. And yeah, at the same time, juggling family and career in irrespective of music. So I don't have a good answer for you, but for anyone that's listening that has something on their hard drive, don't lose faith in yourself and keep chipping away. And I don't have any great advice, to be honest.
Don't let the music die in your heart, man.
Yeah, man, I could have said it better than that. So, yes, John, you said it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was looking for motivation other than just, you could have just left it so that it wouldn't be released, but then you went through the necessary steps to get it released. Now you're on my show. Now you're on other people's shows. You're doing the thing, right? So, was it a moment of clarity that you ended up having an epiphany of sorts, where you just sit your morning coffee and you're like, I gotta do it, and you ran downstairs and for the first time in 10 years, you're putting the ducks in order? No. There is Epiphanies actually played a big role in the making of it, but not to finish it off in any way. The concepts for each track actually kind of began with some sort of personal epiphany that I thought was so important to share with the rest of the world that I wanted to create songs about them. But that's kind of the origin of each song, is kind of with an epiphany. But no real epiphany at all happened with getting it finally done. Like I said, it was a matter of chipping away at it. There was processes in getting the artwork done. There was some setbacks in getting the CD design done, even deciding to go with the CD in the first place. We were just going to go digital. We explored vinyl. It just all took time. But nowhere along the way did I ever feel that it wouldn't get released. Just a matter of how to do that in the right way. Okay. What's a CD, Devin?
A CD? What is a CD?
What?
It is
What?
I'm old, man. I still listen to CDs in my vehicles. That are two vehicles have CD players, and yeah, it stands for compact disc.
Okay.
And that's how I still refer to albums, is they're CDs to me, man. And I'm just showing my age, and that's about it.
I know.
I do have a Spotify account.
What?
I finally succumbed to that in the last year.
Whoa! Carrying it all in the airwaves, man. Carrying it in the airwaves. Okay. Yeah, one of the funny things is I was preparing for this interview, and immediately I started copying down the information that I got from the PR person that you hired, which was that it was an album. And then I was doing some further research. I was reminding myself, what it sounds like. Because when I'm listening, you get like less than 10 seconds of my time. If I think you're good, I invite you on. If I don't, then I move on, kind of thing. So I was refreshing myself, getting a little bit deeper into it, and I thought, wait a minute, there's only 4 songs. Is this really an album? But then I had to look at the time, because for a lot of intents and purposes, the time is more important than the amount of tracks.
Yeah, in my perspective, it is. I draw a lot of influence from like the symphonic world. I played in a wind orchestra throughout high school and then university for like 5 years, and that's where I met Arlen, our drummer. So he has that experience too, and like a lot of influence. Sure, this album is heavy, but there's a big symphonic component too, and that's part of the reason there's 4 tracks, and 4 tracks alone, and it amounts to 52 minutes of music. You don't criticize like Brahms for doing the same thing. So, I mean, hey, I'm going to take safety behind that one. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like, especially the last song on the album, Simultanagnosia, I think it's just shy of 20 minutes. And it's really like 4 different movements within one piece. So we're not really playing in a traditional rock format for a song structure. It's much more like cinematic or programmatic. And yeah, it led to some long songs because that's the amount of time it took to explore all the themes that we wanted to. So
that brings me to a couple of other questions, since you mentioned some symphonic stuff. First one then is, are these then movements more so than like verse chorus sections of a song?
Only the last song is like that. Like the last song I wrote with 4 distinct movements within it. So that 20-minute track is 4 movements. The other 3 are not so much movement-based, but nor are they verse, chorus, solo-based. I guess you could say that there's maybe a verse or 2 here or there strewn across the album, but yeah, we definitely didn't follow any formats for song structure when we wrote this stuff.
Okay. And then my other one, and this is kind of a crazy question that probably is entirely insignificant, Devin, but because orchestras don't play really to a tempo, at least not the same way rock and pop does. Did you guys do that as well, or are you guys, kind of to the grid, so to speak?
We had that conversation early on, and really the conversation I think began and ended between me and Arlen, the drummer. And I just kind of remember saying to him one day, like, hey man, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to just wing it, or do you want to like put it on the grid? And he's like, you know what? I think I'd prefer it on the grid. So we did. And whereas you said like orchestras don't have a tempo, they absolutely do, because like that's what a conductor's there for. Right. But it is fluid, right? It ebbs and flows. And so we took a painstaking amount of time, and this is funny because it's literally like 12 years ago now that we did it. So it's very much having to think back on that. But we took a long time to do the grid. Everything is to a click track, but the meter changes, the tempo changes. There's an absurd amount of them, for one, and secondly, it took a while to nail where it felt right. So it is on the grid.
Okay. And I'm looking it up, and you can probably tell me a lot more about this. I remember remembering that orchestra tempos are Italian words, and they have a range.
Yes, sir, they do.
So allegretto is, roughly speaking, 98 to 109 beats per minute. So basically, the conductor is having you sway somewhere in between. And that's a pretty wide range.
It is. And again, like I've had a bit of experience in a wind orchestra setting, and it varies by day, and it varies with like, how much coffee the conductor probably had that day, or how tight his gitch are. Like it's very subjective. And I kind of love that. It's one thing I also love about live music is that there's things that are when people are fed through their headphones live and it's to the grid there. But most of the bands that I've listened to live are not on the grid, and we try to be attuned to that, to have our grid a living and breathing thing and to seem natural. And I think it came out all right.
Mm-hmm. You got to make sure you're Thoroughly apace.
Yeah. Allegretto is all heck.
There we go.
Yeah.
Presto.
Yeah, that means quick.
Yeah, that means
Nicely done.
Yeah, extremely fast.
Yeah, it's like 160 to 177.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, if you compare that to pop music, it's like that's a wide window. Like that changes everything. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like 10 times wider than a pop window.
But explains also as well why when you're watching an orchestra, you can get so swept up in the movements, because if a movement requires you to go a little bit slower, you just do it. And if the next movement requires you to go a little bit faster, you just do it. So I was curious if you guys had approached it that way, or if you were like more the pop orientation, which is not necessarily to the grid, but we're 125 beats per minute, and that's what we are. And
Yeah, so although it was to the grid, it was very dynamic. I've never had to deal with such crazy grid structures in all my days of operating Pro Tools.
Whoa. Well, that's your problem right there. You have a German Shepherd in your toilet.
The German Shepherd is pooping in my wood toilet.
Oh, no. Not Pro Tools jokes, not today.
Oh, that was a Pro Tools joke?
Yeah, that was a Pro Tools joke. And
Oh, I didn't.
yeah, Devin didn't like it. He's blushing now. He's like,
didn't
but I
get
like
it.
Pro Tools.
I didn't get it.
I don't know that anybody likes Pro Tools. Some people feel they have to use it. It's like Facebook. Some people are like, no, I have to use it. And other people are like, you got choices, buddy.
Yeah, I don't use
yeah.
Pro Tools. I don't use it often.
For the record, for those Pro Tools haters out there, when Arlen and I started working together, it was Cubase, a very, very old, like 2001 era version of Cubase, and the SL version, like not even the Pro version. That's where we started this project, is programming drum beats using that. So yeah, we've dabbled in the Cubase as well, for anyone that wants to get on their DAW high horse.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of which, I'll get this one in there for the Cubase people who are listening in right now, who are like going, is Pro Tools is finally caught up to that version of Cubase?
Nicely done, sir.
Yep, with folders. Okay. We've chatted about Pinky Malinky, Saskatoon Berries, house hunting, orchestral tempos, and we actually even snuck in some DAW stuff there. We chatted about the artwork. You mentioned that if we go to I can't remember if you said website or specifically Facebook, that you can find that artist's information for anybody who's curious, because she does some phenomenal work.
She does. So yeah, there's kind of three ways to get a hold of us or check us out, I guess. I mentioned our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/B, the letter B, and then the number 4, so BEFORE.APACE, which is APACE. Our Facebook page is kind of our biggest social media presence. We also have a website, which is beforeandapace.com. And we're also on Bandcamp at beforeandapace.bandcamp.com. And yeah, I'm about to put a post on our Facebook page about the day that I was shown the cover art. It's a beautiful painting, and took a snapshot that day. So I'm going to post something right away here on Facebook about that, and it'll link to Varia's her website for her paintings, and she's amazing. You should check her out.
Yeah. Okay. I did not know that was a painting that you guys digitized. I thought that she had actually done that in like Illustrator as an example.
Yeah, why so many colors?
Yeah, I don't know. It's we asked for 34 colors, and she put 34 colors in, and we're just happy with that.
Yeah.
But she did it all in watercolor, and when we digitize it, it's just like a picture that was taken in some dude's garage, and he took a wonderful picture of it, captured all the colors as they should have been captured, and the painting is now hanging up in my living room upstairs. So,
wow,
yeah, beautiful work. She's an amazing artist.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Did we miss anything, Devin? Is there anything that you were hoping we would chat about? You've been sitting just squirrely the whole time, waiting for me to ask the question, then I didn't.
No, my butt cheeks unclenched when we finally got some German Shepherd talk in. So I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on my mind because... Go ahead. You were saying, sorry?
Oh, no, you go ahead, please.
Okay. This is a very Canadian conversation. No, sorry. What did you say? No, sorry. Excuse me. I heard a joke once that the most Canadian moment somebody's ever experienced is when two people bumped into each other in a shopping mall and the person watching said sorry.
Yeah, I've been each of those three people.
We were house hunting, and we walked into this house that somebody had a dog that just wrecked the floor and chewed it up. And we're like looking at the floor. Okay, we'd have to replace that if we move in. And then we get to a bedroom that has all this water damage all on the wall. So we're checking the bathroom. Did a pipe burst somewhere? The bathroom looks fine. We let our real estate agent know. She gets in touch with the owners, comes back. Yeah, it's the dog again. The dog peed so many times so bad that it caused pee damage, on the wall and the floor. And then we connected that because they had one of those signs that's, I love my German Shepherd. And I thought, you love him so much that you didn't train him.
Yeah.
But you're trained, Devin. And that's why you've created this beautiful artwork in sonic textures for us.
Well, appreciate it very much. I want to thank you for having me on. Really appreciate it. So thanks for taking the time to listen, and to anyone else out there to listen. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.